AUDL presents Ultimate Greatness, a series showcasing the most memorable games, athletes, and storylines in the history of professional Ultimate. Welcome to a world where the majestic floating disc redefines possibility, and even at the pinnacle of competition, spirit and integrity still reign supreme. Previously on Ultimate Greatness, the Madison Radicals learned an excruciating lesson about the fine line between glory and heartbreak when they gave up a 7-goal second-half lead against Seattle in the 2016 AUDL semifinals. The San Francisco Flamethrowers also saw their season end against Seattle in 2016, but 1 year later, the Flamethrowers arrived to the Final Four with their most talented roster ever, including the legendary Beau Kittredge, who despite playing for 3 teams in 4 years, is remarkably seeking his 4th consecutive AUDL title.
A lot of us were struggling with the loss to Seattle still. And so not only have we lost to Seattle in a game we should have won in 2016, we had also lost in the semifinals of the championship since 2013. So there's a lot of losing that we've done up until this point, and we're almost struggling with the identity of, do we only lose here?
The Flamethrowers in championship weekend for the first time. They do have 9 members that have won a title before with the San Jose Spiders. One of them's Eli Kearns, who's getting ready to pull. And Eli Kearns, a guy, we weren't sure how big of a contributor he would be this year, but could be a game changer today.
I think that's why it's been very difficult to track San Francisco's progress across this regular season, is they haven't had the roster cohesion necessary for us to be able to scout them appropriately. But here they are, championship weekend, full force. It's going to be amazing to see what they bring.
Plastic has been unleashed. Madison offense, long anchored by Andrew Brown. Pat Schreiwise, a critical downfield cutter. Interesting to look at the early defensive matchups. Got Lucas Dahlman chasing Andrew Brown. Byron Liu on Schreiwise. Kearns on Tom Annan. This is Colin Camp. Kevin Cox gets that defensive task. This Madison team, Megan, specializes on using the width of the field. You see Cohen on Kevin Brown. You also got Cassidy Rasmussen out there on Ross Barker. Ben Nelson being trailed by Antoine Davis. He had a step deep, but that's basically the Madison mentality, is to play conservative, use the space on the field, and take their time.
I was talking with Coach Yo Kawaoka from San Francisco before going into this game and asked him, what's the plan against Madison? They know that this is the kind of offense Madison loves to run, and it is great at. Calm and consistent. If they can rattle them like they did just now, they'll stand a chance of taking this game away.
Easy D for Antoine Davis off the errant throw, and Eli Kearns launching for Greg Cohen, and he'll run out of room.
Yeah, lucky break there for Madison to get the disc back. I was trying to keep an eye on Pat Schreiwise, number 4, running. He was the one who missed the catch on the Madison turnover. I'm not sure that he's at 100%. He looks a little ginger. He's about to get it underneath. I think he might stay underneath, which is fine because he's so dangerous with the ball.
He made some game-changing plays last year against Seattle. Of course, the Radicals were at home at championship weekend last year. Bree Stevens Field had a huge lead against the Seattle Cascades, which slipped away down the stretch, and
that seems like an obvious foul call. I don't know why it wasn't made. Incidental contact with Antoine tripped him up.
Davis going deep. Davis, so close.
Beau would have had it. Right? I mean, a young Beau Kittredge, that disc is getting caught. So say what you want.
It's hard to dispute that. We'll see Beau Kittredge out there on offense for San Francisco, but this is a long point. If Madison can punch this in, this is the type of point they want. Slow the game down. 2 years ago, when Madison played San Jose in the finals, final score was 17-15. It was tight the whole way. Tom Annan looking for Schreiwise. Does he have the legs? Not quite.
Yeah, that's a little telling. I mean, you can just see that the gate doesn't look quite right, and at the end of that sprint, he didn't have the explosion that you would have expected.
I agree, Chuck. I think it'd be interesting if we could see a replay of that particular play a little bit later to see what prompted him to make the decision not to bid for that disc.
Guys, adrenaline is a powerful drug, but at this point, north of 3 minutes now, how tired do you think these guys are this first point of the game?
Well, these are professional athletes, so let's hope that they're hanging in there in point one. This field, by the way, is awfully nice.
There's a pick downfield.
And apparently this is the compound where the old Montreal Expos used to play. Pretty historic spot in the city.
There are a lot of historic spots in this wonderful town. The language can be a barrier for the three of us, but it is great fun to be here. Can San Francisco finally punch in the game's first break? No, they cannot. Another turnover, and this marathon opening point continues. Tim DeBile takes a timeout. The new matchups here, Adam Drews, just back from South Korea, where he spent a good portion of the season, marked by Patrick Bayless. Now Bayless, a Madison native, so there's certainly emotions for him going against his hometown team.
And Bayless just moved up to Vancouver as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he signs up with the Riptide next year.
Avery Johnson to Brian Hart, looking to Logan Pruce. Eli Kern stays on the field, and Madison's D-line marches it down. San Francisco on offense for the first time with Marcelo Sanchez, Jordan Marcy, Ashlyn Joy, Mac Taylor, Grant Lindsley, Joel Schlockett, and Beau Kittredge. Where's the weak link on that line, Chuck?
Mac? I don't know. There's no weak links.
Madison with a double team on Lindsley. Gets it to Marcy, and Beau Kittredge with a quick strike. 1-all.
There's not a lot of good strategies against this San Francisco team.
Beau Kittredge, only 15 goals through the 2017 AUDL season. He's played 9 games. This is number 10. Trywise back out there, connects with Johnson.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Trywise behind the disc primarily at this point.
He has been a Sendler handler in games when Andrew Brown or Tom Annan have not been available. Colin Camp launches it up. And in the end zone, Dave Wiseman goes up and makes the grab.
You know, a guy like Wiseman, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who's going to get up on him on a 50-50.
It was Brett Peterson who was side by side with Wiseman. Kittredge marked by Graffy. There's Lindsley with Sterling Kanaki chasing him. Kanaki had some huge plays in Madison's victory in the Midwest Championship game over Pittsburgh, as Kittredge got some oohs and ahs from the crowd with that flick blade to Marcy. And there's contact downfield.
They've got Kevin Pettit-Scantling marking Ashlyn there on the reset, and he's got a pretty good look. Wow. Just a loose throw from San Francisco. So they're bothering the resets. They're bothering some of those short looks from San Francisco. That's really, really good news. If they can make those resets tough, or KPS actually almost poached that around from Jordan Marcy. You know, if they can start to make them think a little bit around the disc, then they can earn some turnovers like that one.
We saw Madison's D-line march it down the field on the game's first marathon point. We talked about it in the open, Megan. Peter Graffy, the quarterback in these situations.
Right, he's someone who's very aggressive about both moving and attacking the disc. So if he releases and it's not a surefire score, he's going to generate some movement downfield to keep the offense going.
Looks like there was a call made, and Madison's Andrew Mechanix body to body with Marcelo Sanchez. They were both throwing shoulders into the situation. This would be a big point for the Radicals. And it's Graffy to Hart for the game's first break. Flamethrowers with basically the same 7 out there. Kittredge scoopers to Schlockett. This is Marcy. Marcelo Sanchez. No one in the entire league played more points this year than Marcelo Sanchez, who is looking for his 3rd AUDL title today after winning a couple with the Spiders 2 and 3 years ago, respectively. Ashland Joy was on those San Jose squads as well. Lindsley didn't have an angle to Kittredge. Dangerous shot, and it's Logan Cruz soaring for the D.
This is great defense by Madison.
Sanchez was thinking Callahan, but Graffy elevated. Weiland's dump knocked away by Marcy.
And Marcy very declarative as he evened out the score.
Second goal for Kittredge.
It's always a challenge playing against Beau because he just doesn't lose a championship weekend. He's won a ton of games there and a ton of championships. And playing against him again, you know, there's this thing in the back of my mind. It's like, hey, he's never lost a game here. And so that was definitely a factor in this game.
We have seen several rising stall counts in this first quarter, which I think is a testament to the downfield defense, right?
I think so. A lot of times when the nerves are up, the D's pretty good, the O not so good, and I think there might be a little of that going on.
Madison has one break already. San Francisco looking to even the score. Rasmussen's riser could not be caught by Dahlman.
Man, that's an interesting scenario there. I think Lucas saw Pat coming and pulled off the catch a little bit. I mean, it's on him to make the catch, right? But the contact is imminent. Tricky situation to call.
Take two for the Madison offense on this point. Radicals came into championship weekend last year undefeated, perfect 14-0 season. This year they lost twice in the first couple of months, falling in Minnesota and then losing a regular season game at home for the first time in more than 4 years when they fell to Dallas on June the 3rd. No team heading into championship weekend has a longer winning streak than the Radicals. They've won 8 consecutive games as they continue to bleed time from this first quarter clock. Testing Wiseman, Lou and Cohen nearby, and it's Cohen over the top.
There was a lot of contact. The battle of the 21s, and Dave basically just trying to shove him out of the frame. I don't think that's a foul on Byron. He's in that space, and Dave is essentially pushing into it.
Cohen replaced by Ashland Joy. San Francisco's disc closing in on 40 seconds to go in the quarter. Fans still filing in here in Montreal. Toronto and Dallas coming up at 7 o'clock Eastern. The championship game at 1 p.m. local time tomorrow. Dahlman's throw floated to Kearns, and now Eli Kearns perhaps realizing that.
Yeah, 2 loose deep shots from Eli in the first quarter. He's a guy who can get it going in either direction sometimes.
Graffy from his own end zone. How about the athleticism of Ashland Joy going up for the disc, and now San Francisco. You hear a whistle and a timeout called by Yo Kawaoka. And Eli Kearns spikes the disc in frustration.
They're going to get a good look at the end zone.
They get the hammer off. Taylor with 1 second gets it off. Madison with 5 defenders in the end zone. And it's Kevin Pettit-Scantling rising above the pack.
I tend to struggle with these between quarter mentalities. I tend to fall out of this competitive edge that I have during points. And so often I kind of lose track of the score. I was so caught up in like, this is San Francisco, this is a team that we've lost to numerous times before. Are we gonna fall apart? When are we gonna fall apart? And so I was definitely struggling with that, and I felt like a lot of my teammates were too.
Beau Kittredge scored both goals for San Francisco in the first.
Brent Lindsley out in the lane. Great defense. Holy smokes.
Sterling Kanaki intercepts.
Absolutely shut down. I'm not sure why Mac threw it, but in any event, great deep again for Madison.
And there's Ashland Joy, his second D of the game.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that he's an outstanding all-around player. Wow. That's leadership from Ashley Joy. I mean, they need that. They need guys who've been there, who've won big games, big tournaments, to step up and say, we are not losing this game to Madison, and that's what Ashley's doing. And that break from Andrew Brown, he's the only one who would throw that, but he can hit it.
All the AUDL coaches in the Midwest Division said collectively that Andrew Brown had the best breaks. Wiseman shooting it. What a shot it was. Ross Barker breaking away for the score. Only 3 guys in the history of the league, I believe, that have 30 goals, 30 assists, and 30 Ds in the same regular season. Wiseman, Kittredge, and Mechanix are the 3. And Beau Kittredge has scored almost all the goals so far for San Francisco. Beau is the only guy here this weekend that's going for his 4th consecutive title, as Kevin Brown shoots it, looking for Barker. Rasmussen nearby. And Cassidy Rasmussen takes advantage of Barker's misplay. The pressure might have been a factor as well.
Yeah, made it a tough catch for Barker. Barker still had first touch and could have made it. But pressure's the name of the game on D sometimes.
You're right, Chuck. I think Barker went up a hair earlier than he intended to, not letting the disc drop down enough for him to catch it.
Hanner's throw was too high, and it's intercepted by Kevin Brown.
Yeah, it's just such loose possessions by San Francisco.
Finally, the Radicals get Colin Camp involved. Madison holds to sustain a 1-goal lead.
It's kind of a scary thought, someone like Camp, who has 41 goals, well, now 42 under his belt, more freedom.
Kittredge with a left hand being chased by Graffy, and Beau's called for a travel. A receiver's travel while setting the pivot foot, just like it was in the past, the 10-yard penalty. As Schlockett accelerates into the red zone. Taylor doubled. And there might have been contact on the mark, yes. So Taylor will be able to center the disc. Madison again trying to surround the thrower. Back to Joy. Marcy. Ooh. Sanchez sizzles it into the small space, and it's Beau in the end zone again for the Flamethrowers. 5-all here in the second.
The pressure's increasing a little bit on the man D from San Francisco. So far, real steady though.
Wiseman overly ambitious, easily picked by Cohen. Rasmussen, Dahlman, Liu, Kearns, Davis, Cox, and Cohen, the D-line for San Francisco. Lucas Dahlman, one of the captains, a guy who has been on the Flamethrowers since the team's inception, and here at championship weekend for the first time. And Dahlman sneaks up the line just shy of the end zone. And he was hand blocked on the goal line by Colin Camp.
Wow. You don't see that too often.
No, I thought that was a strip.
That was a sick play by Colin Camp.
Flamethrowers miss a chance to take their first lead. And there's contact downfield against Madison, so the Radicals will retreat 10 yards. This Madison team has dominated the Midwest Division. They have struggled outside of the Midwest, losing the Cross Coast Challenge this year to Dallas. Only 1 win in their previous trips to championship weekend. And there was a strip on Davis. There are officials, but the players do have the authority to overturn a call if they disagree with the official's call. I think most of the players in the AUDL really pride themselves on playing with integrity. And using that integrity rule when necessary. Madison capitalizes on the Colin Camp hand block. 80 yards downfield, punches it in to Ben Nelson.
San Francisco likes a much faster paced, intense game. Madison plays better when it's under control. And I know they wanted to impose their will on the other team, and right now it feels like Madison is controlling it.
Sanchez trailed by Graffi. Madison's disc.
Wow. Love to see a replay of that. Looked like Graffi was on his arm. But a nice play. He got up so high.
Tim Nabil will use his final timeout of the half.
Oh, I don't know, yeah.
Graffi, a Luther College product. He had 49 Ds in 2014, led the league. He had 42 Ds in 2016, led the league. Andrew Mechanix led the league in 2015, his teammate. This year, New York, Jeff Babbitt, #1 with 41 blocks over the course of the season. And there was a stall called against Madison.
Hey, the discs don't lie, all right?
As a coach, that's got to really grate you.
No,
you call a timeout, you're stalled out.
That stings.
Yeah, looks like a foul on the mark.
Ashlyn Joy will take those 10 yards and move toward the center. Became a flamethrower late in the season. Never got his own jersey. He's typically 27. He's wearing Nathan White's 28 this weekend. We've seen 3 non-normal throws from Beau Kittredge. The little blade, we've had a couple of hammers, a scuba. Now, when you don't see this defense around the end zone that often, which is basically a zone, you can be a little tentative. San Francisco does punch it into Lindsley. San Francisco quickly down on the pull again. There's Kevin Brown.
That break, that's got to be one of my favorite throws. The Andrew Brown step-in backhand break.
Been doing it for a long time. His younger brother Kevin sending Barker. He's got it.
It felt like we were really starting to make them uncomfortable to the point where we were going to break ahead.
We see Kevin Brown with not a huge space to land that disc, and he put it in the one spot where Barker could get it and Peterson couldn't. San Francisco trying to continue this string of holds in the second quarter.
It's a tough day at the office for Grant Lindsley. He is really not getting any easy looks under.
Kanaki deserves a lot of credit for that. The former Hodag, who has been a huge playmaker for the Radicals throughout the season. Schlockett picks up another assist. Jordan Marcy. We've had 9 holds in a row in this second quarter. First quarter was 3-2, 5-4 with an edge to San Fran through 10 minutes here in the second. This is Avery Johnson. Finds the reset and all. Well, this is interesting because that could be considered a pick because Lucas Dahlman, I think, was just trying to stay with his man.
Yeah, it was a really awkward cut.
And they are going to call it a pick.
I think that's the right call. The Radical ran him right into traffic. It was a really weird pick, or a really weird cut. So certainly Lucas probably shouldn't have jumped on the guy. By the way, I'll talk to him after the game.
Camp needs something. Get Johnson. Try-wise.
that IO flick. Always there.
Drywise knew he had to hurry, and he fired it with a little too much sauce off Johnson's hands. And there's Antoine Davis, perhaps with some championship weekend nerves.
It's hard to say what's going on for San Francisco, but they are certainly not sharp.
Under a minute now in the first half. Each team has gotten one break. Madison led 3-1. San Francisco tied it up 3-all. And we've been trading ever since, despite plenty of turnovers. And there's the hold to make it 8-7. Avery Johnson makes amends. 35 seconds left in the half.
Yeah, another thing, if you're a younger player, always catch first, throw second. It's hard to do. Very hard to do.
I mean, we forget sometimes just how hard it is to catch a disc spinning at the RPMs that these throws are coming at, and these pros make it look routine.
Right, you see him make these catches so many times, and you just think, well, touch his hand, why didn't he catch it?
Mac Taylor and is hanging out around the center as a pivot man. And Schlockett sets the pivot foot. San Francisco tic-tac-toes its way down the field to Marcelo Sanchez in the end zone. 8 seconds to go in the half, and Annan just lets it rip.
Tip drill.
And there's Cohen with 2 seconds. Cohen gets it off. We saw something crazy at the end of a quarter in San Francisco's game against LA, but not here, as Drywise closes out a very even first half. This Radicals team has really never been blown out in the history of the league. Their loss to Dallas, a 6-point outcome, was their largest loss ever. This is a team that in 5 years has lost just 12 games in their franchise's history. And 8 of those 12 losses are by 1 or 2. A few more are by 3.
That's kind of impressive. Reminds you a little bit of Floyd Mayweather in boxing, just a guy that you can't seem to put your hands on.
What's he doing these days?
He's retired. I don't think he fights anymore.
Second half underway. The Radicals on offense, just like they began the game when they needed nearly 5 minutes to punch in an offensive hold. San Francisco's D-line could not capitalize on several opportunities. And it's interesting because both teams had many chances to break and only broke 1 time in the first half apiece. Largely an overcast sky so far, but the sun has broken through here at Claude Robillard Stadium.
Kevin Brown open.
Madison does not seem to be in a particular hurry. The brothers connect, Andrew to Kevin. And there was a pick downfield. You see picks more and more when the point has lasted for a while. And the offensive formation may be a little nebulous from what the team began.
Yeah, as the play breaks down, guys start improvising.
Oh, goodness. Some contact as the players collide through for the disc, but it's Canner who got his hand on it, gritting his teeth for the D. Bayless, Madison native, picks up to Rasmussen. Near the goal line and into the end zone, the Flamethrowers with their first lead of the day as Lior Gival hits Sawyer Thompson. Tim DeBile had a decision to make here. Do I put my O-line back out there or do I get the D-line out there? And he went with his primarily D-line, led by Adam Drews, Andrew Mechanic, Brian Hart, Chris Weiland, Peter Graffey, Logan Bruce. This is just a jump ball, and it's caught by Weiland, who finds Hart for the score.
Yeah, I actually was in the airport trying to meet up with some folks to get a shuttle to the hotel, and I saw this gigantic dude with a Patagonia backpack, and I said, that's got to be an ultimate player, and it was Weiland.
Was he nice, or was he a little scary when you talked to him?
He growled a little bit. He was finishing chewing meat off of a probably a turkey leg, hard to say. Yeah, very friendly.
You're not exactly a petite guy to run into at the airport there, buddy.
It's true.
San Francisco O-line, Kittredge, finesse to Marcy. Back to Beau. Over the top, Schlocken. Hard to believe that Joel Schlocken didn't score his first goal of the game until now. Brown makes the breaks look so easy. This is Tom Annan. Colin Camp. Cohen on the mark. Peterson with the active mark on Kevin Brown. Johnson to Andrew Brown. Annan, end zone. 10-all. Bruise on Joy. Taylor.
Mac has such great hucks that he's a fun guy to add to this roster and get him the disc underneath with big power shots from either side.
Several times today, guys, Madison has tried to creep up from behind with a double team, almost to surprise the handler when he turns around to look for a reset. Darn, there's someone else there. Hope that fluster could lead to a turnover.
It's definitely not what you want to see when the stall's at 4 and you're turned around to get an easy reset, and then all of a sudden you got a no-dump poacher.
KPS couldn't get there in time on the poach.
That can be a dangerous poach. Leave someone open downfield. KPS so fast to recover the ground and position.
Madison again forcing San Francisco to work near the end zone. KPS got a piece of it, but it still found Lindsley, and he'll connect with Taylor.
I had read an in-between throw where I tried to get into the lane and have a block, and honestly when my feet left the ground I thought I had it. Even when I touched it, I knew I didn't get as much contact as I wanted to, but I was like, I got this. And as I landed, like even before my hands touched the ground, I remember turning around the other side and seeing that Grant caught it, and that they were on their way to scoring another goal, and it just felt so defeating because that felt like a moment where we were going to have another turning point. We were all clawing our way back in there, and that seemed like an opportunity to do it.
Largest difference in the game was Madison by 2 at 3-1 with 4:08 to go in the first quarter. It was 3-2 at the end of the first. We were tied 8-all at the half. San Francisco got a break to begin the half, 9-8. We've been trading ever since. Johnson. And a pick away from where the throw ended up. Madison's trying all this quirky stuff, the poach, the double teams. Meanwhile, San Francisco is just trying to out-athlete Madison, it feels like.
Yeah, it seems like there's safer looks. Wow, nice D. Safer looks for Madison, not as many unexpected looks, you're right.
Johnson squeezes it into the tight space. Ben Nelson, beardless, but he's got his second goal of the day. That game, Toronto and Dallas, coming up 7 o'clock Eastern. Defending champs, Dallas going for another title. Toronto's trying to win their second title. They were the champs in 2013. Hosted championship weekend in 2014 when they lost to Beau Kittredge and Ashland Joy and Kurt Gibson in the final. Remember when Kurt Gibson played for San Jose? Another reason why the Spiders were great that year. Again, you see the quirky defense around the goal line. Madison basically morphing into their zone. And Joy knifes the flick to Taylor. Nelson hassled by Peterson. Over to Wiseman. Sawyer Thompson, a promising young prospect out of Brown. Trywise thought about it. Stays conservative. Low throw into the ground out of the hands of Wiseman. Canner takes the shot, pays it off.
Great point from Sawyer. Looked like he had bothered Dave that whole point. I mean, Dave actually had a loose around pass that almost got over the head of his receiver, and I think that was because Sawyer Thompson was doing some things that bothered Wiseman's rhythm.
Only 4 breaks so far in the entire game. That was the 3rd for San Francisco. And now Madison in a spot where it feels like a must score. There's a lot of time left in this game, but you allow San Francisco to continue the string of breaks, you find yourself in trouble. Graffy's been looking for fouls a couple different times on this point, and then he stalled.
I mean, he didn't even start to throw. I don't know what he's doing. Now he's arguing for the flamethrowers to make a foul call.
And Byron Liu is going to invoke the integrity rule, saying he fouled Graffy on the mark, illustrating his character in this intense situation.
Right. Yeah, if I'm Tim DeBile, I want Peter to keep playing. Like, hey, I know that wasn't fair. But you can't just hold on to the disc. Okay, I need you to keep playing.
Oh, there's Graffy coming back to it. It wasn't intended for him, but now he'll shoot it long, and that's money.
And Graffy's one of those guys, he imposes his will on the game, and you saw it right there. I mean, literally there was a stall called, and then he said no. Yeah, playing against Madison, a lot of it comes down to mental discipline. Like they're essentially not going to let you do what you want to do, and it's a question of whether you can hang in there.
There's a great D from Kanaki.
Yeah, but it mounts on you, and it's a question of whether you can hang in there and keep playing, even though you're not getting the high-scoring game you wanted. And they've done it to so many teams over the years. And they're about to tie it up. They were down 2. They're about to tie it up if they score here.
Madison last broke San Francisco at 2-1 to make it 3-1. Meyer keeps it alive, and it works. Another score for Chris Weiland, and the Radicals are back even.
We've seen them get flustered by plays like the one that just transpired. And it could be the difference between them being able to save the disc and lose it.
Great D from Kanaki. And then not the prettiest offense you'll ever see. Taylor looking for Lindsley, turning on the Jets. Grant Lindsley with an easy score. He's got one of the most fascinating stories in the sport of Ultimate. He spent months living in a cave in Thailand at a Buddhist monastery.
Wow, look at this trap. It worked beautifully.
And it leads to a D. Camp had a chance to catch it.
And that was what San Francisco was trying to do on the previous pull, roll it out of bounds, and they were offsides. Looks like it worked quite well.
Yeah, even after Tim DeBile had a chance to look at it and decide what he would do.
Canner sending Kirkland deep, just shy of the end zone. Dahlman, did he get blocked again at the goal line? No, it's a foul this time.
Maybe it's because he got point blocked last time by Colin Camp on the open side. We'll never know.
Dahlman picks up the assist to Bayless. Madison will receive to start. I beg your pardon. San Francisco will receive to start the 4th, so this feels like a critical must score for Madison.
And 20 seconds, plenty of time for them to work. Want to get within range of that end zone. Wow.
That will work out. Ross Barker shows off the wheels. And now the flamethrowers have 8.5 seconds. Kearns to Joy. Gets it off with plenty of time to spare. And up in the end zone, it's Madison. Radicals trailing by 1, San Francisco on offense. Megan, what's it going to take for Madison in these final 12 minutes?
I think they're going to have to continue to change up their defense just a little bit so that San Francisco's offense can't get comfortable. Once they get comfortable, it's incredibly difficult to stop them. So defensively, a few different looks. No one better to give that than Tim DeBile, just to keep San Francisco guessing as to which lanes are actually open.
See if they can fuse the flamethrowers and create some blocks.
And Mac is doing some really nice work out in the lane.
Lindsley. Sanchez. He wanted to get it away from the double team, and now he'll take the timeout. Mascalunas on the mark with Mechanix. Kittredge wide open behind the disc.
Just nothing easy.
The Madison defense is just like another fun challenge for a guy like Ashland Joy to try and solve. It's a tricky riddle that he hasn't seen before. How about that?
Ashland Joy has just continued to be the Radicals' kryptonite since 2014. He beat us when he was a Spider for 2 years, and then he joined San Francisco pretty late, and he had the same effect on us. We just couldn't do anything against him. I was his personal defender for those 3 games that we played against him, and he blew me out of the water. He is an incredible athlete and easily their best player.
16-14 San Francisco, closing in on 10 minutes to play. Only one of these teams can play tomorrow. Try-wise, gutting through the bruised knee. Has not been necessarily the same guy, but he's still making an impact out there, Chuck.
Yeah, and he's a guy, too, that at the end of the game when the marks get really, really tight and aggressive, he has no trouble.
Try to emulate your heroes as long as you want, but you're not going to be able to dunk like Michael Jordan or shoot like Steph Curry.
You hear that, kids? Always aim for a reasonable goal.
Think big, but be realistic. I mean, some of the kids that we see today are confounding us. Schlockett thought he was fouled, and they'll grant it. Next door here, there was a youth tournament going on earlier today with a really cool sight to see as we got to the stadium earlier this afternoon. Another foul against Hart will send Schlockett to the center.
There's not a lot you can do, but you are in the way. You are fouling. Tricky position to play well.
Madison making San Francisco work near the end zone again. As Taylor to Schlockett for the score. Another important offensive point for the Radicals. If they get broken, it'll be San Francisco's largest lead of the game. That's a dangerous throw. Poach D for Eli Kearns. To Dahlman. Up the line, Kearns accelerating into the end zone. Bookends for Kearns.
Yeah, Kearns, I think, does the right thing. Right off the catch D, he had a look deep to Antoine Davis with Wiseman on him. He elects to holster that and then go up line. And he makes sure he's in with that dive.
Into the middle of the field for Adam Drews. He'll launch. That disc angled perfectly for Ross Barker. Another tight game. And there was certainly contact, and the foul will go against Madison.
Yeah, it looked like he made about as good of a play on that as you can. It's just an awkward angle to get a clean D. You have to reach with your left hand over the shoulder of the receiver. Very difficult to even get the disc. See the pressure mounting.
Lindsley. And he, I believe, was in.
Looked in. Guess not.
A rule that he landed on the line. And he was fouled, so he'll center.
I would love to see a replay of that. I thought for sure he jumped in.
I was sure he was in too.
I don't know what was confusing about that. He was clearly in. But more refereeing is not a science.
Marcy to Schlockett, 19-16. Only a half quarter remaining for the Radicals. But Joel Schlockett plays with a quiet confidence that shows with his relentless goal scoring. Like he's always trying to prove a point.
He's a guy who gets lost in the shuffle a little bit with those other two guys getting more of the notoriety, but He thinks, and I agree, that he's every bit as good as they are.
This is Avery Johnson. Over to Barker. To Camp. It's a Madison-esque effort here from San Francisco, just forcing the Radicals to bleed time from the clock. That's what we saw Madison do to Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago at Breeze Stevens. Looking for Schreiwise. Back to the end zone on target from Kevin Brown.
Yes, they'll think twice about letting Kevin Brown have an open shot like that one.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't realize how ready and willing Kevin Brown is to throw that. He is a gunslinger.
Same 7 out there for San Francisco. They've certainly gotten into a rhythm here in the second half.
Oh, wow.
Taylor threw after a whistle. The disc is going to hit the ground, and the disc is coming back to the Flamethrowers.
I mean, Mac looks a little flustered, though.
Kittredge and Mechanix bumping. Schlockett, Lindsley. There was not much downfield defense there from Madison. Time running short for the Radicals. And the thing here is Madison's curveball is their zone, and you don't really throw the zone when you're down by 3 with 4.5 minutes to go, because that could end your game in the same way that San Francisco scores would. This is Barker looking for Kevin Brown. Pretty shot. Pretty nice bid too from Gavall, but it's Kevin Brown in the end zone.
Yeah, this is a team that hangs their hat on their defense. And it's go time. Gosh, look at this. Look at this forest that Joel Schlockett is in right now.
Schlockett was very nearly stalled. That would have been a gigantic call. Maybe a half second longer. Sending Lindsley. Madison's been playing underneath, and San Francisco's starting to take advantage.
San Francisco's starting to figure it out, learning how to function against this bothersome Madison defense that continues to change.
Can Madison strike quickly enough to give themselves a chance? Schreiwise wants it all, and it's Andrew Brown and Ben Nelson going long. And it's San Francisco who got the D. Kevin Cox shaken up.
Wow, Ben Nelson so close to getting that.
Ashland Joy, second time he's been able to sub in after the Flamethrowers get a D because of an injury. Rasmussen back to Joy. You talk to Tim DeBay, you know how much respect he has for Ashland Joy. Thinks he's perhaps the best player in the sport. Radicals have struggled to have an answer for him in the past, and how about that? The crowd loves it. The Flamethrowers on fire. Joy drops down the hammer for Kearns.
When Ashland gets the disc, he can make the same throw as someone else maybe, but it's more fun when he makes it.
Madison knows they got to strike quickly, and well, there's Ross Barker, the recipient of the hammer.
That was sick.
We'll keep our eyes on Madison the next time they pull. If they can get a break, wouldn't be shocked to see them try the dropped pull play, where instead of pulling it, they kind of just casually drop it and force the other team to sprint down there. We saw that from Toronto a couple times in championship weekend last year against Dallas. Kind of the onside pull.
Yeah, it would be a good call. And right now, San Francisco, the longer this point, the better for San Francisco. So they have almost no incentive to advance the disc.
Stall count rising, but Joy, as usual, shakes free. He breaks it to Lindsley. Schlockett. The San Francisco franchise, founded in 2014, made the playoffs every year in their existence, but did not win a playoff game until they beat LA in the West Final a couple weeks ago. And now they're 60 seconds away from Championship Sunday.
They have just taken control of the game here. Can't allow these resets if you're Madison. Madison.
I know in the first half you were a little disappointed in San Francisco's performance as Jordan Marcy takes a timeout on the Flamethrowers. If they can hang on, we'll get to just relax, enjoy the Roughnecks and rush, and await an opponent.
Yeah, it's got to be nice to play the early game and just relax.
If you win it, absolutely. San Francisco didn't shuffle its personnel too much. Eli Kearns did come into the game. Would you give Ashlyn Joy MVP honors for San Francisco today, Chuck, or would you think elsewhere?
Ashlyn played great on both sides of the disc, so he's definitely a good candidate.
Got those couple Ds in the first half,
right,
when there weren't a ton of Ds to be had. Rasmussen played mostly D-line today. And Joy will pad his stats to Kearns. Eli Kearns, another candidate.
You know, whoever matches up against him isn't going to have the best sense of what they're capable of, just because, you know, very briefly we saw what Ashlyn can do when the pressure's on.
Madison looking to score once more. Antoine Davis denies that. And the San Francisco Flamethrowers headed to the finals of AUDL Championship Weekend for the first time in their franchise's 4-year history.
The faces on my teammates were the same faces that I'd seen for the past 5 years at Championship Weekend, that we've blown it again. And I think at this point I'd recognize that I've become numb to losing at this stage. And that didn't feel right at all. And I think as a team we knew that something had to change. And we were going to make a really big change going into 2018.
It's just a really, really well-played game by Madison. And yeah, I mean, they are unbelievable, but too much, and the crowd's loving it.